All right, friends, social connections. Welcome to this Monday morning episode of Buying That House Music Posse. Right about now, let's put a pause on it. Here we go. Thank you, Music Posse. Nothing better to warm me up, warm you up, and of course, warm my guest up for coming into today's live stream episode of Buying That House. And my guest today is someone, well, for those of you who already know him, it's someone you already know. Why? Because he is known as the person behind Downers Grove Living. You probably have seen him serve his community at what is called Downers Grove, I think it's called Grow Fest, big summer festival. And last, he also is a Rotarian. So with all of that said, with that tease, those fans, those people who know my guests, you kind of know who I'm talking about, but rather than just have Slav come into the virtual studio, let's give him a nice warm welcome. The best way to do that is to bring him in with his walk-on video, his walk-on music. Here we go. How you like that walk-on video and music?
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that a couple of years ago.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, Slav. When I noticed several years ago, time flies, time moves forward so fast. When I started watching you with your content, and when you dropped that walk-on video, your walk-on music, I'm like, that looks pretty damn good. By the way, the walk-on music, where did you get that from?
Oh, actually, that was my videographer put the music together, put the whole thing together. Yeah.
All right. And he must have, unless you're just all natural, he must have maybe whispered in your ear, shooting that short clip, like, hey, you know, walk at this certain pace, because as the music was going, it was lockstep in tune with your pace, man.
Yeah, he was very patient with me, directed me. He's a true pro. And of course, you know, he slowed it down to, coincide with the music. So,
yeah. Well, hey, now you know the reason why when you and I were storyboarding, you're sharing your time with me, your audience, my audience, our bigger audience today. Now you know the reason why I kind of whispered in your ear as well. Hey, Slav, can I get that walk-on video? You now know.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, hey, let's talk about Downers Grove.
Okay.
Okay. First, how long have you lived in Downers Grove?
Boom. About 34 years.
Wow. Yeah. Where did you move from into Downers Grove?
Well, my wife and I bought our first house in Hillside. And
In
the plan
Hillside.
was to be there for 5 years. We ended up being there, I think, between 9 and 10. And then we moved into our first house in Downers Grove,
Yeah.
lived there 5 years, and then moved into the house we're still in today since 98.
Wow, wow. So you touched upon something that I think is so common. We tend to stay and live longer in our first home. And Slav, I think we lost you there. Here we go.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
That's
I don't know,
okay.
technical issue. Sorry.
I knew you were coming back. So I was saying, it's very common for, I think, all of us, with our first home, we tend to stay there a little bit longer than we planned. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's great to have plans, but then things happen. We had our first, child, our son, and, raising him, and then our daughter came along. So time really flies. And
time really flies. Yeah. And would you say that your first home that you purchased, that you lived in Hillside, for certain that was just gonna be your first home, not your forever home, right?
Correct. It was a very small, modest ranch home, and served its purpose, and we knew we were going to move up from there, step up.
Yeah, yeah. The business of real estate is constantly moving, and in order to be prepared for the next step, sometimes, more times than not, it's always about the life events that drive that need to make a move, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So talk to me about, why do you see such a draw of buyers buying in Downers Grove? Because Slav, I know this. I think I know this. As I look at a lot of your content and as I've followed you, you branded your business Downers Grove Living. Why? Because you have so many people that knock on your door, pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to move to Downers Grove. What's the appeal of Downers Grove? Talk to us.
Oh, sure. Downers Grove has been so good to me and my family. It's such a great community. I think I just seen an article, haven't had a chance to read it. It's been voted one of the friendliest cities, right, in the Midwest. And that is so true. Commute-wise, it's perfect, right? We have the Metro train station that runs through. We have 3 express trains in the morning and 3 in the evening, get you to and from Union Station in only 23 minutes.
Yeah.
A wide drive, which you could get downtown in just 23 minutes. Schools are wonderful. There's so many different organizations to join if you want to get involved in the community, and the restaurants, shops in both Downers Grove and the outside of Downers Grove is just phenomenal. And great community events like the summer concert series, Rotary Grove Fest, which you mentioned, right?
Right.
Just a great community experience, and that really draws people. And it's not too big.
Yeah.
Some towns are a lot larger, a lot more congested. You feel like you get lost. In Downers Grove, you feel like you truly belong. Yeah,
very, very well said. And I couldn't agree with you more. There's more than enough times where my wife, my family, we visit the various neighboring suburbs for the reasons that it has its appeal. So you described it to a T. Now, having said this, Slav, your previous careers before being a real estate broker, here's what I think I know. You've always been in the business of delivering. Let me explain. Audience members, yes, I'm teasing here. Let me explain. For those of you young people, yes, that's all of you. And for those of you young people as well, the young baby boomers, okay? Slav, you've always been in the business of delivering. And the reason why I tease with that is because I think what I remember is your first career experience when you were really, really young was working at corporate UPS, delivering goods.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Age 18.
And you have a long career with that, right?
Yeah, 34 years.
Yeah. And you sound like to me, because I asked the question, you kind of moved up the ladder many times over until you realized that, okay, I'm ready for my next chapter.
Yep, absolutely. I'm very grateful to my time at UPS. As I mentioned, I started on the docks. I was promoted to supervisor. They had me in line for upper management. And so the next step was to deliver packages. Back then, they had a strict rules of, what you had, the protocol you had to follow.
Okay.
And it just so happened, coincidentally, my sister, I'm sorry, met another gentleman that worked at a different UPS. And then word got out, and they had a rule back then that relatives could not be in management together. So we were blacklisted at the time. I delivered packages in those brown little trucks for I think 9.5 years, and then I drove semis for 15.
Wow. So the big 18-wheelers on the highways that we see, you know how to move that as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I did. That was a little while ago. 2000, I think 12 was my last year.
Okay. All right. So audience members, yes, we're calling on some of you right now. Slav has always been in the business of delivering. So you heard his first chapter. Fast forward now, his current chapter. He's absolutely in the business of delivering, and that is delivering the outcome that many of you want in this live stream episode of Buying the House. And for those of you who are buyers, of course, delivering that outcome, which is your next chapter. So Slav, I want to talk to you about this. You've seen this graphic before. Let me load it up in our studio here, okay? The graphic that you see here, when I first saw it, Slav, I was surprised. And that is the persona, the profile of the repeat buyer right now, past 12 months, let's say, is a median young age of 62. I was surprised. Were you surprised? Maybe you're not when you first maybe saw this?
I was surprised. And I was actually even more surprised with the median age of the first-time home buyer, right?
Yeah.
It went from the early 30s to late 40s.
Right.
For the very first-time home buyer. And
Right.
when we bought our first home, I believe I was 23.
Right.
So yeah, that was quite the shock.
And then from this visual content, it also shares with us one of the top reasons that repeat buyers are buying is to be closer to friends and their family. You agree with that, or do you see other reasons?
I do agree with it. Now that we do have some repeat buyers, right? They get a little into the early 60s and they decide to move to Florida, or
Yes.
they have that 2-story home. They want to downsize to either a ranch home, which ranch homes are so hot right now because of that, or a townhome or condo. But then I also see people who have moved out of state,
Yes.
and they come back because they miss their family.
I cannot disagree with you, because speaking from my perspective, my family, my side of the family, we're all scattered throughout the US. And the reality of being close to family, it is, how do I say this? It's so priceless. And sometimes, as time is our most important commodity, you want family closer, right?
Absolutely. Making memories with friends is great, but when you have those cherished memories with family members, I mean, that's what truly lasts a lifetime for an individual.
Yeah. Talk to me about this, Slav. One of the reasons, it seems to me, that first-time home buyers, the persona of them, have now pushed to this later stage, age of 40 plus, as you hinted about. I think one of the reasons is, of course, affordability, as you and I know right now. But in your opinion, because you are always kind of intimately involved with the buyer, what are their other fears? What's holding them back, you think?
If you watch the national news, right, you're going to hear stories about the market's going to crash. So there's always that fear. Are they buying at the right time? What if the home prices do come down after you purchase? And what's interesting is, I had this conversation with somebody else that maybe we lost that one generation of buyers that are in their 40s right now, because they lived through the experience of watching their moms and dads go through the crash, right, that we had back in 2008. Because what I'm also seeing is all of a sudden this year, I have a good number of home buyers that are in their 20s, right? Yeah. So possibly that's the reason why we skipped that one generation, and now that average buying age or average age of buying your second home has increased.
Yeah. How do you, as a full service real estate broker, and with all of the clients who you served and delivered their outcome for them, how do you help them manage those obstacles, fear, anxiety, and of course, like, I'm not sure, what if? How do you help them navigate through their journey?
Yeah, great question. I use my personal example as far as the fear of the market going up and down. The market will always fluctuate. You always will have adjustments, but real estate, there's just a finite amount, right? And it's always going to be in demand. And in the long term, it's going to increase in value. When we first bought our house in 1998, right before the crash, it seemed like almost overnight our value of our home doubled, right? Which was great. And then a couple of years later, right, 2008, it was back down to almost what we paid for it.
Right.
But now we've been in there since, like I said, 98, and our home value is much higher than what we purchased for. So, questions to ask, how long are you planning on living in the house? Is your job secure? And things like that. And just try to reassure them that, market will fluctuate, but if in the long run, it's a great investment. And, interest rates fluctuate too. And, we bought our first house at 12.5% interest. And when it went down to 10, we were doing somersaults. We were so happy. But eventually, as the interest rates do come down, you could refinance and make that even more affordable than it is now.
That's true. And one of the things I always say, Slav, in my conversations with buyers is, I get it. We all experience fear, anxiety, and of course, excitement. Why? Because the journey of buying either your first home, your next home, it comes with what I call the barrel of emotions, all three of those emotions,
Sure.
right?
Right.
And would you rather be in control of your own destiny, first-time buyer, repeat buyer, or would you rather be caught flat-footed? Because I'm sure this has happened to you, Slav. Maybe some of these sellers were the ones that picked up the phone and said, Slav, I'm ready to do this now. And that is the investor or the landlord saying, I'm ready to sell. So renter, you got to go.
That's interesting. We just closed on a condo for a client. That was the exact situation.
Is that right?
The landlord sold, and the new owners gave no guarantees on when they're going to cancel their lease agreement or to extend it. So she wanted to find a place, and she's thrilled. And here's the thing: her monthly mortgage payment is less than what she was paying for rent.
That is the key. That is the key.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are single professional females, why do I highlight you and call you out? Because Slav knows this, and I kind of know this. Single professional females are the fastest growing segment of home buyers. So don't let your own barrel of emotions limit you from getting to your next chapter. Why? Because what you certainly don't want to happen is your landlord saying, knock, 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 you got to go. So Slav,
not a good feeling.
yeah, not a good feeling when you're not in control of your own destiny. So Slav, as we wrap up our first live stream together today on this Monday, you've been kind enough, because I did prompt you to ask, hey, Slav, would you be willing to play my stupid little game of Would You Rather? So you're still up for it, right?
Of course, let's go for it.
Let's go for it. By the way, there's no wrong answer. There's no, well, wrong answer. But it's all in the spirit of helping our audience members see, understand, feel something that maybe they are clouded by their own limiting beliefs. So here we go. So first question in my stupid little game of Would You Rather. All right, Slav, would you rather work with a buyer who is fully approved, but extremely picky, or a buyer who loves every house, but isn't financially ready? Which would you rather?
Oh, number one, of course, right?
Yeah.
You have to know where to even start from. Somebody could love every single house, but they cannot buy it. So there's no point to even doing that. That's, one of the questions. Some first-time home buyers don't know, right, that they should go through the pre-approval process. And I explained to them why. I mean, they're like, well, I look on Zillow through their mortgage calculator. I'm like, well, that's great. However, keep in mind the rate that you're approved for might be different than what they're telling you. So,
True.
And what you're approved for and what you could afford are two different things.
And then the third cliche I'll drop, and that is this. Whatever you decide to do online, nothing wrong with that. So I'm not throwing shade on your need to do that, but do know this, given maybe your limited knowledge, the old cliche is garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm. True.
All right, one more round of my game of Would You Rather. Here we go. Slav, would you rather tell a client something they don't want to hear or expected to hear and risk losing them, or tell them what they want to hear and risk losing the transaction later?
Oh, I number one, I have to be straightforward and honest with everybody, whether they want to hear it or not. And that goes with both buyers and sellers. If you go down the other path, there's no turning back. So always being straightforward.
Yeah. And wouldn't you agree? I think at the end of the day, all of our clients, and we're focusing on our buyer clients today, our buyer clients want us to lead them. They're placing their trust in us to lead them. And sometimes you've got to have the candid, maybe raw conversations, right?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. The last thing I want is a call a year later saying, Slav, why didn't you tell us this?
And I know you wouldn't do that. I know you wouldn't do that, because going back to your first career experience in the business of delivering important goods, your next business of owning a home improvement business, and now delivering the outcome that's so important for every facet of life events. I knew you wouldn't do that. So that's why, even though I prompted you like, hey, I got this stupid little game, we'll wrap up with that. They're easy questions. You knew that. So audience members, as Slav and I wrap up our live stream today, I want to first thank him for sharing his time with me, with you on this Monday late morning. Now, you may be wondering, because you don't know Slav, but you're thinking about moving to Downers Grove, or let's not restrict it to Downers Grove. Let me whisper this to you. He does help people move to other places too. However, you may be relocating to the greater Chicago metro, and somehow, some way, you tripped upon this live stream video content, you kind of like the banter between Slav and myself, and you're thinking, I need to start a conversation with him. Here's how we're going to make it so easy for you, because if you're too damn lazy to Google search Slav Polinski, here's the other choice. Simply scan this QR code, audience members. I will gladly create a warm introduction between you and Mr. Downers Grove Living, Slav Polinski Music Posse. Let's play us out. Slav, thank you so much once again. Here we go.
Thank you.